Everyone, and welcome to Heart to Heart and Devotions with Tessie. And today we are on Chapter 7, My Journey Through Problems. Just when things were going great, up comes a problem. Sometimes my problems seem big enough to swallow me up. And sometimes I wonder, where is God? Does He know about my problems? Does He even care? You bet He does. And God is always ready to help. Together, God and you can turn those big problems into little ripples. The Lord took me to a safe place because He delights in me and He saved me. Psalms 18:19. When you had a problem that was too big for your life, do you remember what it was like? Are you in that problem now? How does God help you in your problems? The next time you have a big problem, read the verses, Psalms 62:8 and Psalms 142:2 and 3. Face problems in our life. That's something as a human being we all have. We look at other people's problems and think they aren't so big. Or maybe we look at other people's problems and we realize they are much more difficult than our own. It's all in the matter of perspective, my friends. And I am not immune to not having problems. In fact, I've had a lot of problems in my life. Problems or because of my own choices in my life. And some of those problems were because of choices of others. We can't always control what happens in our life, and we can't always dictate what's going to happen. I always tell you that we can control how we react to those problems. I thought about my life a lot. I'm the kind of person that I'm a thinker. Oftentimes I'll lay in bed at night and I think about things. I think about the past, the present, and the future. Sometimes it's hard to shut my mind off. It's hard to turn it off. And is the kind who has lots of things on his mind, but he can shut them off and put them to rest. I can't do that. It really all depends. There's many periods of years in my life where I took problems and I was a victim. I can't believe they did that to me, and how in the world could they do that? Everyone was out to get me. I had very little faith in people. I didn't really trust anyone other than my husband and my children. I was hurt deeply, just like you. And my problems, I tended to shrug them off onto other people. Well, it's not my problem, it's theirs. It's not the thing I need to deal with, it's theirs. I carried the heavy load of being a victim my whole life. I was a victim of a mother who was... I was a victim of a family that was very rigid and strict, and they took a lot of things out on me. I was a victim to a young wife who didn't understand what it was like to have a family at age 17. I was a victim at I never could do anything in life that mattered. I was a victim that I like to eat too much and that's why I'm overweight. I'm a victim in this and a victim in that. I am a victim because I was adopted and I had people leave me in my life. So the problems I used were not problems I wanted to deal with. They were problems that it was other people's problems, and they in turn, I would throw the problems off onto them. How did I deal with problems? That's how I dealt with them. But it wasn't working for me. On these Heart to Hearts, I share with you intimate moments of my life, and I share with you things that not everyone will agree with, and that's okay. We can always learn to agree to disagree, because we all have different thinkings. We all have different life experiences. So even though my thoughts on things may not be yours, and that's why I love you all so much, because even though you don't always agree with me, you understand where I'm coming from, and everybody has their own feelings. In 2007, my problems got so big that I was unable to just throw them under the cover, and I was unable to just throw them off onto other people. My problems became my problems. My anxiety set in and my panic disorder set in to the point where I was very ill. For a month, I barely ate anything, and I got to the point where I felt like I couldn't go on. I remember the drive to my doctor's office. The day before, I spent another day in the emergency room. I thought for sure I was dying. There's got to be something terribly wrong with me, only to hear the doctor say, "You have anxiety disorder." I remember the ride to the doctor's office, and I remember thinking, oh, here we go again. I went to the doctor's, and once again, he prescribed all of the things. Now, I want to give you a footnote. I am not against medications. There are times in people's life where they need medication. So if you're on medications, what I'm going to speak about, I am totally not against that. I understand. For I, too, was on a medication for a year, many years ago. But that medication, I didn't like the way it made me feel. And I slowly took myself off of it. That fateful day in 2007, the doctor once again prescribed all of these drugs. Well, you can have this for anxiety, and you can have this for acute panic disorder. This is going to be for your stomach because you're taking all of these. And also this is for your heart when it races, because it's racing because of your anxiety disorder, so we'll put you on this as well. I came home with 5 medications. On the drive home from that day, I was driving. I was alone. And someone, which I know is the Lord, said something to me that will forever change the course of my life. Tessie, he said, it's time you stop blaming others on your problems. And I thought about it. What do you mean, Lord? It's time you become a victor and not a victim. It's time you stop taking the circumstances of your life and making it into that's part of your life. Well, part of that is my life. That is my story. That is my testimony. It's not in my life anymore. I remember driving home and I said, I'm not going to take these medications. I'm going to deal with what is affecting me. Because I knew what was affecting me, and I knew what was causing my anxieties, and I knew what was the deal with it. But I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to face it head on. I just wanted to put a Band-Aid over it and wanted to go about my day. Because, my friends, facing what was about to face me was more traumatic than anything else. Did I heal overnight? No. Did I heal in a day, in a week, in a month? Slowly, yes. It took me 2.5 years to face the fact that even though these things have happened to me, and even though my abuse was very severe at times, as a child, I learned to grasp them and to face them head on. I learned to see what was used to abuse me and learned to close that chapter in my life. I went to my home. I opened up my closet and I peeked inside where the belts were hidden. I said, I am going to heal from my childhood hurts. These problems are not going to be my problems anymore. I was ready to face that. I know not all of you are ready to face your problems in your life. I understand that, and you have my deepest sympathy, and you have my deepest respect, because it hits us all at different times of our life. So, Chapter 7 also has really meant a lot to me, how we face our problems in our life. I had to face a lot of things, and they were hurtful. How did I face them, you may ask? Well, Tessie, you're telling us you feel much better, but how could that be? I forgave myself, and I forgave everyone who has harmed me. I understood the reasons why things were done to me. Some of it was because of ignorance. They didn't know any better. Some of it was because of mental conditions. Some of it was because of controlling behavior. But I've learned to forgive. It didn't come overnight. So how did I learn to forgive? I realized in forgiving, that means I'm putting the power back into my hands. I'm no longer holding on to the bitterness. I started listening to very uplifting music. I started reading my Bible and reading Psalms and Proverbs. I started thinking of good things in my life and started thinking of how far I've come. I started thinking of me as being a person who makes mistakes. I was expected to be perfect as a child. And because I was adopted, I was treated as if I was not as good as others. I had bad blood. But I realized I am not perfect, and it's okay to make mistakes. Maybe you have problems in your life. Maybe they are because of what somebody has done to you. Or maybe it's because the choices that you've made in your own life. But I ask you, my friends, why have you made those choices? Deep, deep down, discover your inner man inside and find out why you've made your choices in your life. And maybe those choices were because of problems that were put upon you that shouldn't have been. We all react in different ways, and we all do things in different ways. Seek and find out why you think the way you do, why you act the way you do, and why you have the problems that you do. Now when a problem comes into my life, I don't dwell on it. I think it through and think, how can I help solve that problem? I don't place my problems on other people and say it's their fault. Even though some problems come my way that were not my fault. It's how I react to my problems is what makes the difference. So in other words, if someone else makes a choice and it affects me and it causes a problem and it's not a solution, I think, how can I help this problem? How can I make it better? We had a situation where our work, my husband's work, was becoming too much for him. It was becoming a problem. So instead of saying, oh, why did this happen to us? Well, why isn't people doing this? Or why isn't family doing that? I think of my problem and our problem and think, well, how can we solve that problem? Well, let's look into other things that we can do to help my husband so he doesn't have to work so hard. And in turn, our problems become lessened. There are some problems in our life that will be there for the rest of our life. That's how it is. But can we lessen the problem? Can we make it easier on us? can we face it head on and not try to throw it under the rug? Some of these heart-to-hearts are very heavy. This is my journey. This is my journey in the lens of the camera. But it was because of starting my journey this way that I'm able to heal. And I thank you so much for encouraging me, and thank you so much for walking with me and for not criticizing me and understanding my point of view. Like I say all the time, everyone has a different point of view, and how I look on life may not work for the way you look on life. But I share with you my journey in hopes that something I say somewhere in this long road of life will touch you and make you think. And the things you say to me have touched me and made me think. So if you're facing a problem today that may be a mountain or a little molehill, rest, my friend. Take a deep breath and listen to the music of happiness and peace. Surround yourself as much as you can with things that are positive. Write down your thoughts. Write down your problem today and think about it deeply and how maybe you can set your path to brighter days and maybe your problems can be solved. Not all of my problems are solved today. They may not be solved tomorrow. And some of the things that are problems in my life will never be answered because I know that. Not here on this earth anyway. But that's all right. We're not perfect. We're just human beings. And we're made special in the image of our Lord. So chapter 7 is on our problems. And let's look and see what chapter 8 is on. My journey through loneliness. And then we go to my journey in courage. My journey in kindness. My journey through prayer. So many ways that we can share our life together. And I want to encourage you, one last thing, that while I'm working on this journey book, and some of it may be raw and deep, I ask maybe you would want to work on it as well and write down the scriptures and write down your journey. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow. As the deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after you. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone will my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. As the deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after you. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone will my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you.